Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell, and I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs, and I've been in business for the past 28 years. I want to start by thanking our sponsors today, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of Gilden Group Realty. Obviously, they are real estate agents, and they do a fantastic job. They can be reached at thegildengroup.com, and the phone number is 386-451-2412. The podcast is not free, and they like to spread health and wellness, which I think is an awesome thing because they apply it in their own life. So let's give back. Please give them a call if you have any real estate needs. Again, Jonathan and Lynn Gilden at the Gilden Group at Realty Pros, 386-451-2412. Let's dive into today's podcast. There Is a Method to the Madness is the book I wrote. It's the name of this podcast. And, I came up with that because of how I've always viewed training, viewed how I train people, viewed my philosophies. In other words, there is all kinds of recipes out there for physical fitness. And I believe that many people get caught up in the recipes. And what I mean by that is very specific workout plans, mostly in regards to strength training. You don't see it as much in the other worlds, but in strength training, you see more of it. So for example, somebody might do a workout of upper body and lower body combined, so a full body. Somebody might do upper one day, lower the next. Somebody might break their body up into thirds and do chest and back one day, legs the next, and shoulders and arms after that. Another popular workout routine was when bodybuilders, it's not as popular now. People are kind of going more back to what we call old school. Maybe the science is starting to catch up, or we're starting to catch up to the science. But doing single group muscle groups per day, so Monday through Friday, somebody might do chest on Monday, back on Tuesday, legs on Wednesday, shoulders on Thursday, and arms on Friday, or a million and other one derivatives of those things. Those would be what we call specific workout programs or exercise prescriptions per se. And then it's broken down into types of exercises, sets and reps, and different schemes. All that stuff's great. But I've always been a big believer in what's the science behind all this and what do we really need to know. There is a million and one ways to get fit. There's a million and one ways to do it right. I think the worst wrong in it, as far as my profession goes, as far as personal trainers go or exercise physiologists, excuse me, or now we're seeing more strength conditioning coaches, which I think is a good thing because typically that's a degree field because it starts in athletics, but now it's carrying over to mainstream, which is good. Anyway, I see the debates in my world more than you might see it as the client or the trainee. And it's kind of silly, so I've always been able to look back and go, well, what's the truth behind this, and what do we really need to know about this? And, even though, and I'm not bragging at all, I do have higher education in my field than most people. Most people, at least in my area. Maybe, again, that's starting to catch up, but I haven't seen a whole lot of that. I haven't seen a whole lot of people with different degrees behind their name in my industry, at least not working as a trainer, which is what I wanted to do. I never really wanted to run a gym per se, or manage a gym, or even run wellness centers or things like that, or wellness programs. I like working out. I like working with people one-on-one. I like teaching. I like educating. That's more what I'm good at. Other people are good at maybe managing gyms, and there is a difference. I've met with some of the biggest, as far as biggest name gym owners in the entire country before, and sat down with them, and they're different from me and I'm different from them. And they said, I never really could see myself working with a lot of people during the day, one-on-one, like you do. And I thought, well, I never really, was interested in like just managing numbers as far as like what machines to order, what inventory do we have to have, how many clients, or really that's gym members do we have to stay afloat. Like that's a very important side of my business. You have to have a good business sense, which I believe I do, but that wasn't the area I wanted to be in. And there is no better or worse. It's just, I believe in this industry, we fall in the two categories of what we kind of land in, maybe it's not even our choice as much, maybe it's more where the universe puts us. So anyway, in my industry, I've always looked at these debates online, and now it's on social media. I've learned to stay out of most of it because you're not going to get anywhere arguing with, Chuckles and Timbuktu over, what's the best workout program. I mean, you have no idea who this person is. So I stay out of it, but I always do try to educate my circle, the people that know me, the people that ask me questions, my clients, my social media people, whatever, the people that I'm around have access to me, and I always try to educate them, and I'm very thankful that I have a good reputation in that regard. And some of my clients, I think some of the best compliments I ever got was from some of my clients who are really, really into it, and they were into athletics, they were in the sport, and they tell me, they say, I read some of this stuff and it's so complicated to me, and then when you explain it to me, I get it because you bring it back to terms that are understandable and what's important about all that. And I remember who said it to me, and it made me feel good. It's one of the best compliments I ever got, because I do believe that I can decipher information and pull out what's extraneous and what's important, and then be able to apply it. So mostly that's what I like to do on this podcast. I like to talk about like what you need to know, what is being said, and what is the science behind it, hence the method to the madness. So I always said that so much early on in my career. See, I'm just going to call the book that, call the podcast that. One of my students once, when I was teaching sports medicine as sort of a side job onto what I currently do, I did both. That was a very, trying time, trying to manage both, but I wanted to try something different for a while, and a while turned into a decade. Anyway, they said, a student said it to the rest of the class once. They said they were going to school to get their degree because they wanted to be a chef and not a cook. And I love that. I loved it. We learned from our students, and I've been using it since, and it's basically the same concept. Do we want to follow a cookie cutter program, a cookie cutter methodology, a cookie cutter technique that somebody told us is best? Or do we really want to learn the science behind it so we can pick and choose what we need or what our client needs? Now, some of you clients listening, you have jobs, you are busy, and you pay me, so I think for you. That's okay too. I'm not trying to, talk myself, so much that nobody, I don't need to go to him anymore. No, I know that's not the case, but what I'm saying is some of you don't want to know all that, and I get it. I've had people say that, I know you know what you're talking about, just tell me what to do. I don't disrespect that. That's fine too. Some people want to know. Some people don't want to know. But even if you don't want to know, I think what's cool is the fact that I've already thought about what you need and what's the science behind it. So when I present it to you, it's been thought about. Now, you may not know that right away, but maybe it comes up because we're doing a certain training technique or something, and maybe you don't like it or you do like it exceptionally. So you might say, oh, so what's that all about? Then I explain it. And then after that, I just believe that I've earned your trust. And so that I'm doing the legwork behind the scenes, which I do. And it's not like I have to sit down with my computer and do an hour's worth of research before I get ready to train a client. Of course not. Thankfully it is still in the old brain up there, and it hasn't slipped out of there. So I really do automatically pretty much know the answers to most things, and the few things that may come up, which usually aren't in the area of strength and conditioning or aerobic. Sometimes it's more in the area of health or medication, something like that. I may not know off the top of my head. I will go look up. But the point is that even though I don't have to sit down and look for an hour, there is a pretty deep reason behind the way we do things here, which I believe is based in scientific thinking, which, by the way, doesn't make it more complicated. That's what's funny. It makes it simpler. I take what some people make very, very complicated, and I always say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So, that's a very long introduction, but I also think it's an educating introduction. So I want to break into a few examples, all right? Like different training methodologies, and what is the method to the madness? All right, let's talk about variety. There's a famous fitness guy. I'm going to say his name. Who cares? Joe Weider. He is the publisher, or was. I don't even know if it's in existence anymore. I'm sure he's still doing something, but he was the publisher of Muscle and Fitness magazine, and then it became Men's Fitness. Not to be cute, it didn't become Men's Fitness. He had a second magazine called Men's Fitness, not to be confused with Men's Health, which is a different publisher. But he was like the god of bodybuilding. He was one of the people given credit to finding Arnold Schwarzenegger and bringing him to the States and getting him his first job and all that, because obviously Arnold could make Weider look good, and he absolutely did. So Joe Weider was very famous for being a magazine guru. I believe he put on a lot of bodybuilding shows. He made supplements. He even made equipment. Anyway, one of the things I used to laugh at all the time, although it's great that he was able to pull it off, but he used to say, like, every kind of training technique or different type of principle, he would put Weider in front of it, like he invented it. So the Weider principle of overload, which is just overload, and then he would put his name. So, like, in his magazine, he would do that. In a way, that's great branding. He was a great brander. My goodness. This is way before social media and all that, and everybody knew who he was, and what was his background. I don't even know. It wasn't science, though. So anyway, there's a lot of things like that out there that he would put his name in front of, and then everybody would just think it's the next magic way. And there really is no magic way. There's science of what works, there's science of what doesn't work, and then there's science of why it works, which, of course, does take into account a little bit of an opinion. Okay, so if he were still writing magazines, he would say the Weider principle of variety in training. The Weider principle of variety in training. So the question at hand is variety in training. Do we need it? What does science say? If you were to just pick up a magazine, you'd say you have to have variety. Okay. What does research say? Well, and again, don't get me wrong. When I say this, I don't want you to think I'm going to slam variety. I don't slam any principles. Number one, I'm absolutely all for variety. Variety is a good thing. I'm going to tell you what the science says, and I'm going to tell you what I say. So the Maxwell principle of variety in training. Let's brand it now. Let's brand it. I got a few of you out there that are good at this. Let's get it going. So science says that physiologically speaking, including a lot of, or even a medium amount of variety in your training, doesn't necessarily lead to different results. Now, I'm talking inside the gym, so strength training. It doesn't necessarily lead to the 4 adaptations that can come out of strength training. Do you know what those are? The adaptations are strength, power, hypertrophy, and endurance. A lot of people don't know that. So what about tone? Tone is a product of losing body fat and having muscles. So again, hypertrophy, which is size, endurance, which is being able to do something more. In other words, from 5 push-ups to 15, you increased your endurance. Strength is the ability to push a greater load one time, and power is the ability to move a load fast. That's what strength training can do. It can only do those 4 things. Those 4 things are a lot, by the way. Most people like hypertrophy and strength. That's great. Power, endurance also comes along, and some people just love that. But most people go to the gym to get stronger and bigger, right? So anyway, variety would say you go to the gym and you shouldn't do your typical flat bench press today because you've done it once this week or something, and you should do incline press for variety. Is that wrong? No, but it's not right for the reason you think it is. When they looked at these studies, they found physiologically speaking, there was no difference. If you used a variety, or if you did the same freaking exercise 3 times a week or 2 times a week, whatever your training schedule, again, which, by the way, there isn't a magical one. There's a lot of method to the madness and a lot of good ways to do it. A lot of good ways, a lot of whys that go in there. But if you do the same freaking thing every day, 3 times a week, whatever, or if you mix it up a lot, physiologically speaking, in those 4 adaptations, there's no difference. In other words, they both work. They both increase strength, they both increase endurance, they both increase power, they both increase hypertrophy. But the perceived enjoyment of training was significantly higher in the group that used variety. Significantly measured higher. What does that mean? Far less likely to quit, which means down the road where the study's not going to measure it, right? So this study, the last one I saw, measured in 6 to 8 weeks, one or the other, I can't remember, but they looked at the size of growth and all that in 6 to 8 weeks. That's what that study looked at. Okay, what about a year down the road? You know, my bet would be if a person was insanely bored, they've quit, or they really went to the gym with a bad attitude and half-assed it the whole way. So clearly the group that puts variety into the plan is going to see more results. So variety works because it really increases the enjoyment of the workout. It's not magical. In a way, that's common sense, but guess what? Here's the caveat to that. I train all types of different people. Some people do not want variety. It messes with their head. I would say, I was going to say it tends to be more of a trait with people with OCD, but not always. Because I tend to be pretty OCD. And I can tell you what, my workouts change all the time. I mean, I will get bored so freaking quick, your head would spin. And I don't follow the same plan even 2 workouts in a row. I always have a method to my madness. Like I always go into my weeks knowing what I want to accomplish, and I always have it pretty well thought out. But let's say if I'm going to do a chest exercise, which of course I am during the week, right? But let's say if I have some chest stuff, whatever, planned on a Monday, I don't say I'm going to do Smith bench press only. I pick a chest exercise that I feel like doing, and I do it because I'm going to do that with far more enthusiasm than I would if I just don't like a particular exercise. For example, currently I don't like the Smith bench press because to me the bar kind of lines up funny on my chest. It just feels weird to me. It's a great exercise. I don't like it. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be griping about it. I'm going to do maybe 1 set and say, you know what, I'm doing something else. And I'm going to do something that I feel like doing. And a lot of times trying new things is a great stimulus. Like, you know, maybe doing some dumbbell bench presses off of the BOSU because I haven't done them in a while. So that's going to fire me up a little bit more. And as long as I'm challenging myself, my chest is going to get the benefits. I don't need to necessarily like overload scientifically or mathematically every workout. If I'm pushing myself and I'm doing the right movements with the right form, I'm going to get what I need out of it. You know, that's where we, sometimes people tend to micromanage the results too much. You know, they don't take into account that your body isn't counting every frickin' rep and every load. You know, what really matters is, are you going to the gym? Are you working with good effort? Are you working with great focus? That's really the key. So back to what I was saying. Boy, I went off on that one. But some people who maybe are a little OCD, but they definitely don't like change, struggle with variety. And when I've tried to incorporate variety, they don't like it. They want to challenge themselves on the same exercise time and time again. And occasionally I'll trick them up a little bit because I'm just getting bored with them. I'm like, God, we're doing the same routine again. But I want to do what works best for the client, and everybody's different. So if I know they don't like change a lot, I'm not going to change it for my own kicks and giggles, But if I do try to throw in some change because I really think they need it, I'll do it slowly, like maybe it's just one exercise. But there are some that just don't want change. They're looking forward to whatever exercise it is because they want to master it, or like they have a rhythm down and a time and they know basically when they're almost done. So they like to know what exercises in what order. That's fine. I would say that's the minority, but at the same time, it's there. So we can't unequivocally say, I think I butchered that word. We can't just, outright say that it works for everybody. So yes, variety is great. Yes, I love it. But the method to the madness states there's a reason why it works, which is more psychological. And just because one person does it and succeeds with it, it doesn't mean everybody has to do it, okay? Because everybody's a little different. Again, if I had to guess, I'd say probably 75-80% of the people I work with like variety and get bored. So let's do one more today. Let's do one more of these things that come up that people argue about all the time, and we trainers, the ones who have been around a while, have to sit down and explain to people like why things work, why they don't. All right. Angles. So there's this big debate over using a bunch of different types of exercises, not for variety reasons, but adding volume and angles to the muscles. Like if you do an incline press, you're hitting more of the upper portion of the chest. If you're doing a kickback, you're hitting more of the lateral aspect of the tricep. If you're doing a concentration curl, you're doing more of the peak of the bicep. Things like that. Is there truth to it? What's the method to the madness? What do you guys think? I'm going to give you the answer. No, not really. Not a lot of truth to it. Is there anything wrong with doing the angles? No, I just said variety can work. We can end up overtraining though if we think we have to get in so much that we think we have to get in. For example, a chest workout, if we followed that logic, would have a minimum of 3 different angles: medial, incline, decline. And then you would have to pull in a primary like a fly. So it's really 4 exercises. Here's the truth of it. The muscles move the bones which are connected in a joint. The muscles move the bones. Every muscle has what is called a joint action. Every muscle has a joint action. For example, the biceps brachii, which is the main muscle of the anterior arm, to go along with the brachialis, which is the other muscle of the arm. The bicep brachii has one major function of flexing the radius and the ulna, which are the 2 lower bones of your arm, the 2 below the elbow, the 2 bones that connect to the wrist and the elbow. That's the radius and the ulna. The bicep brachii's job is to flex that. That means bring it closer to your body. The elbow is considered a hinge joint, so it only flexes and extends, right? So if you have your elbow pointed at the ground and you pull your wrist into your shoulder, making a bicep, that's called elbow flexion. The bicep brachii does that. The brachialis also does. I don't want to get too far in the joint actions because then we'll get lost. The bicep brachii also supinates the wrist. That means it takes the thumb and moves it outward. So it's got 2 actions. But the main action, again, is elbow flexion. That's what the bicep does, regardless of what angle you have it at. There's another principle in physiology called the all or none principle. The all or none principle states if something is going to fire, finish it for me, people. Y'all had science class. It fires all the way, right? Remember that thing in the synapses? So if a cell is going to fire, if it's going to fire, it's going to fire all the way. It can't get half cocked and then stop. So the bicep brachii, its job is to flex the radius and the ulna. That's it. You can hit it from a bunch of different angles. People could say, well, you need this angle to hit this part. No, if you take it close to fatigue, you are firing all of the muscle fibers in it. So when the bicep starts to burn really bad, and I'm just using it as the example, when the bicep starts burning really bad, that means you've passed all the slow twitch, you're into the fast twitch muscle fibers, you're recruiting every single one of them. When you can't move it anymore, you've recruited every muscle fiber in the arm. Bing, bang, boom, your biceps are fatigued. I don't care if you did standing barbell curls, supinated dumbbell curls, preacher curls, concentrated curls, cable curls, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, it's so silly. Oh, he's got huge biceps. He must do 7 different exercises. No, number one, he's got great genetics. Number two, he works his arms. Haven't you ever seen anybody who, basically has amazing muscles, but they don't work out very much? It's kind of like they're just active all the time, and so their muscles are very well developed. I mean, so isn't it really asinine to think that we have to hit all these different angles? Again, I put these two together for a reason. It's not bad to hit a lot of different angles for variety. You don't have to do it all in the same workout. You're going to overtrain. But like maybe every time you went to the gym and you trained your biceps, if you did a different bicep exercise, that's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But to think that you have to hit all these different angles tells me you just don't know kinesiology. And that's okay if you're a client. It's not okay if you're a trainer, because you're giving information out there that's not going to help. We want to help people. And if people want to go to the gym and get maximal benefits, but they say, oh my God, I don't have time. My friend Claire goes to the gym every day and she's in there 90 minutes and she's training all these different muscle groups and Claire looks great. And I don't want to do that. And if I can't do it all the way, I'm not going to do it. Okay, so you just wrecked that lady from working out. And this isn't that absurd of an example. It happens a lot because I talk to people like that. And I say, well, you don't have to do all that. Well, I don't want to just be average. You're not going to be average. I opened up this podcast talking a little bit about education and different types of trainers. Strength and conditioning coaches, CSCS, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialists. It's the highest certification you can get in my field. You have to have a bachelor's degree to sit for it. It's a must to be hired in the NCAA or NFL or NBA. You cannot work as a trainer without that cert and beyond. Most now they have that, plus you need to have a master's degree. Anyway, they work with the greatest freaking athletes in the world, okay? The greatest athletes in the world. They make us look like nobodies, okay? We're talking NFL football players that could stand on a bodybuilding stage because they're that ripped and huge, but they're too smart to do that because they realize you can make millions in football and, $20 in a pizza in bodybuilding. I don't have any idea why I said pizza. I don't know. Anyway, I'm laughing at myself here. You get the point. There is no money in it, really. I mean, not like there is in the other sports. So, these guys are the best. And so you're like, Rob, what's your point? The point is these guys know that. They're training these guys. They're not going, okay, Herschel, let's go with 3 sets of 10 on the barbell curl, followed by 3 sets. No, they're doing the basic movements that are going to get these guys bigger, stronger, faster. Hear that, bodybuilders? Bigger, stronger, faster. If some of these NFL guys chose to, some of them don't have to diet, but if some of them just chose to diet a little bit and stand on a stage with you, most likely they would make you walk off the stage. They're that elite talent. They're that elite athletes. That's why they're getting paid millions. I'm not trying to be down on bodybuilding. I've done competitions. I'm not at all. The point is, these guys maybe they don't understand the training all the way, because they're being trained by the trainers, but their trainers do. And I can promise you, the programs written by the guys who have all the education aren't all these extraneous exercises. They're training basics. Are they using variety? Of course they are. But they're training basics, and they certainly don't want to do a bunch of unnecessary movements because these guys got practice to go to. And then they have games. Like, strength training is maybe 20% tops of their program. I mean, the rest is practice and passive recovery, like massage. That's active recovery. Massage and things like that. Passive recovery, like sleeping and hyperbaric chambers and all these type of things. They literally, strength training is below those because they are already pretty damn fit. All right. So the point is that it's not emphasized that much, and they're still bigger, stronger, faster because they do work hard and they have the genetics. So again, the method to the madness says that you don't have to do all the angles. There's nothing wrong with doing them all if you want to, if you're not overtraining and you have the time to go to the gym all the time. And next time I'll pick up on, the method to the madness of split routines versus full bodies, which I'm kind of touching on here. I will give you a little sneak preview and tell you, again, it's more of a personal choice, and there really isn't any difference. It just comes down to what works for you physiologically speaking. So, remember that. There is a method to the madness. Variety is fine. It's not necessary physiologically speaking, but it certainly makes the workouts more enjoyable. And when you go to the gym and you work with us, you already know this, but train the basics and train what you like to do. It's really that simple. If you enjoy one type of squat over another, like you're more comfortable with it, do it. And maybe that changes. I mean, I think one of the things lacking in a lot of people's programs is they don't challenge themselves with different exercises that don't necessarily increase load or reps, but they increase skill level. Like squatting on a Bosu ball is harder than squatting on the floor. So that's a way of challenging yourself to do an exercise that's basically the same but making it a little harder, and guess what, more fun. Because you don't know how many times people get off the Bosu ball and they're proud of themselves for being able to squat on it, and they should be, because that's great for balance. That's the key. If we're happy what we're doing, we're going to do it, and that gets into yesterday's a little bit. All right? So this is the Friday edition. It's a little bit longer. I enjoyed it. I love these rants. Please forgive me for any word that I screwed up, because sometimes I'm speaking a little fast. I've got coffee here. And guess what? I don't edit. You know why? I don't know how. Being real with you. Okay, so until next time, be max fit and be max well. And again, please call our sponsors if you need any real estate, because they are great and they listen and they comment, and I really appreciate them. Jonathan and Lynn Gilden, 386-451-2412.